Welcome in, everyone. It's time for another deep dive, and today we're tackling Holden Caulfield.
Oh, boy.
You know him,
I know him well.
the Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah.
But we're going beyond just the surface level of like, oh, this is a classic coming-of-age story.
Right.
We're going to really try to get into
Getting in his head.
Holden's head.
Yeah.
What makes him tick?
It's interesting because, right away, Salinger just throws us right into Holden's inner monologue.
Stream of consciousness.
Stream of consciousness, yeah.
He doesn't ease us in or anything.
Yeah.
Like we're being expelled from this prestigious school, Pensy Prep, right along with him.
Exactly.
And it's Christmas break.
Yeah, you would think he'd be excited.
Right. Most kids are like, oh, boy,
Yeah.
I get to go home,
For instance.
see my family, all that stuff. But Holden's not having it.
Not at all.
He's not.
He's calling everybody around him a phony.
Yeah.
This is a recurring thing with Holden Caulfield.
But it makes you wonder, right? Like, is he just a cynical teenager?
Right.
Or is there something deeper going on?
He's definitely yearning for authenticity.
Okay.
This rejection of the superficial adult world.
Which would make sense.
Especially at a place like Pensy.
Yeah.
This elite.
Everyone's trying to be better than...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Status and conformity.
Okay, so Holden's at this school. That's all about status and conformity.
Yeah.
He's surrounded by what he sees as phonies.
Right.
Christmas is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
But before he makes his escape,
Yeah.
we meet some characters
Yes.
that kind of give us a little more insight.
Who stands out to you?
Well, I think Mr. Spencer is
Oh,
interesting.
yeah, the old history teacher.
Yeah. Tell me about him.
He's trying to connect with Holden.
Yeah.
He really is.
He seems to care.
He does care. He gives him advice about his grades, which are not good.
Though.
But you can tell Holden's just not really receptive.
No, he's just completely tuned out.
It's like he's speaking a completely different language.
Yeah, and then he reads that essay
Oh, God.
out loud to him.
I can't imagine.
I would die.
The worst.
So embarrassing.
You can just feel Holden, squirming in his seat.
Oh, absolutely.
And then the detail with the Vicks vapor rub.
Oh, yeah.
It's like their worlds are physically repellent to each other.
Yeah.
It's so powerful.
Okay, so we have Mr. Spencer, who Holden just cannot connect with.
Yeah, generational gap for sure.
Then on the flip side, we have Stradlater.
Oh, yeah, his roommate.
Yeah, tell me about him.
That's the guy who's got it all together in Holden's mind.
He's everything that Holden hates.
The bane of his existence.
This popular, handsome,
Yeah.
good at sports,
He's borrowing his clothes,
stealing his aftershave.
dating the girl that Holden has a thing for.
Ah, yes, Jane Gallagher.
Right.
Even though she's not physically at Pensy,
Yes.
she's like a huge presence in this portion of the book,
She looms large
just in his thoughts.
in his mind.
So who is she?
She represents this untainted ideal for Holden.
Okay, what do you mean?
She's associated with his past,
Okay,
before he became so disillusioned with the world.
like when they were kids.
Exactly like the childhood innocence.
Oh.
The games they played, the moments of vulnerability they shared. It's this purity and authenticity that he's just craving.
And Stradlater just waltzes in and goes on a date with her.
Yeah, it's more than just jealousy for Holden, though.
Right, because she's like this idealized figure from his past.
Exactly. It's like he's violating something sacred.
And he talks about her constantly.
He's constantly bringing her up.
Like she's right there with them.
Always in his thoughts,
Yeah.
remembers every little detail.
It's like those memories are really important to him.
Absolutely. They're precious to him.
Okay, so we have Mr. Spencer and Stradlater, who are kind of like these two opposite extremes.
Right.
And then there's Ackley,
Oh, Ackley.
the roommate.
Yeah, the other one,
Yeah.
who's kind of like the opposite of Stradlater in a way.
Yeah, tell me about him.
He's got the bad hygiene.
He's always popping his pimples.
Always.
Holden's really grossed out by him.
Yeah, but he also kind of pities him. There's that weird dynamic there.
Like he can't stand him, but he also feels bad for him.
Exactly.
So he's like another type of phony.
Right. He's just kind of oblivious.
Yeah.
He's trying too hard even though he doesn't realize it.
Right.
And Holden sees right through that.
Okay, so we have all these characters representing different things to Holden.
Yeah.
And he's stuck at this school that he hates,
Yeah.
surrounded by these people he can't connect with.
Right.
And it's like something has to give.
It's all building up to something.
Exactly.
And that's where the escape comes in.
He decides to leave.
He has to get out of there.
He can't take it anymore.
He's suffocating.
So he just decides to run away to New York City.
He's searching for something.
Yeah, he's looking for something
An
real.
authenticity.
Yeah,
He's hoping to find it in the heart of the city.
we'll see how that goes. So Holden ditches Pensy,
Yeah, runs right off to the big city.
thinking he's going to find some kind of refuge in New York.
Right, get away from all the phonies.
But does he?
Well,
Not really.
Not so much.
It seems like he just encounters a whole different breed of phony in New York City.
Yeah, different setting, same problem.
Like that scene in the lavender room.
Oh, yeah.
He meets those 3 women.
Right, they're older, out on the town.
He's kind of intrigued by them at first.
Yeah, he's drawn to that adult world.
But
They just start talking about celebrities.
yeah, and who they're with, and
how much money everybody has.
and Holden's just like,
See, this is what I'm talking about.
this is phony.
Phonies everywhere.
So he's looking for something meaningful.
Yeah, he wants depth.
He's not finding it.
Not with them.
No. Then there's the whole thing with Sonny,
Oh, boy.
the prostitute that Maurice sends to his room.
This is a tough scene.
It's uncomfortable.
But it's important.
Why do you think that is?
Well, it shows us just how deeply uncomfortable Holden is.
With sex.
With intimacy. With
Yeah.
adulthood, really.
Yeah. He doesn't know how to handle it.
He's way in over his head.
Yeah, like he's looking for a connection, but then
It backfires.
completely
He ends up feeling even worse.
more isolated.
Totally.
So then we have Sally Hayes.
Sally.
Sally.
She's kind of the opposite of Sunny in a way.
What do you mean?
Well, she represents the kind of girl Holden thinks he should be with.
Okay.
She's from a good family.
She fits in,
Exactly.
but they just don't click.
Not at all.
They can't even have a normal conversation.
They argue about everything.
They go to the theater.
Disaster.
Total disaster.
He wants to run away with her.
Yeah. Out of the blue.
Just drop everything and go.
Which is
Classic Holden.
so unrealistic.
Totally impulsive.
And of course, Sally's like,
No way.
you're crazy.
He's not going anywhere with him.
So then he meets up with Carl Luce.
Oh, yeah, the intellectual.
Right.
From his old school?
You think they would connect,
You'd think so.
but even that goes wrong.
He pushes all the wrong buttons.
Holden just can't help himself.
It's like he's trying to sabotage any chance of a real connection.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think deep down he's terrified.
Of what?
Of intimacy, of vulnerability.
He's so busy calling everyone else phony.
Right.
But maybe he's the phony
Or maybe he's just scared.
of being hurt.
Maybe he's afraid of being known.
Yeah, and all this time we're seeing everything through his eyes,
Right.
his perspective,
Which is kind of the point.
because we're in his head,
We're right there with him.
experiencing everything as he does.
And it's messy.
Yeah, his thoughts are all over the place.
But that's what makes him so interesting.
So relatable.
Even though he's kind of a mess.
Well, he's a teenager.
That's true.
They're not exactly known for their
Rationale.
or their self-awareness.
Exactly.
We've seen Holden struggling with all these phonies in the adult world.
Yeah, he's not a fan.
But then there's Phoebe.
Ah, yes, his little sister.
She's
She's like a breath of fresh air.
right. She's everything that Holden seems to be looking for.
She's genuine. She's playful. She's still innocent.
And the way he talks about her,
So much love. He adores her.
he sneaks into his parents' apartment just to see her.
In the middle of the night.
That's how much she means to him.
And she's the only one he really opens up to.
He trusts her,
Yeah, like when he tries to explain why everything is phony.
and she just cuts right through it.
She asks him to name one thing he actually likes.
Simple question.
But it completely throws him.
He can't do it.
He can't think of a single thing.
It's heartbreaking.
It is. And that's when he brings up Allie,
His younger brother.
who died.
Yeah, that loss hangs over the entire novel.
It's like he's never really dealt with it.
It represents the loss of innocence.
Which terrifies Holden.
Exactly. He's
Right.
clinging to this idea of childhood.
Of protecting Phoebe from growing up.
That's where the catcher in the rye comes in.
Right, explain that. Well, Holden has this fantasy about catching children
Catching them,
before they fall off a cliff.
like, into adulthood.
Yeah, like he wants to be the one who saves them from all the phoniness and pain of the adult world.
Well, that's impossible.
Of course it is.
He can't protect her from life,
He can't protect himself from it.
and you can tell he's still so haunted by Allie's death.
He's projecting his own fears onto Phoebe.
Yeah, like if he can keep her innocent.
Then maybe he can hold on to some part of his own childhood.
And then there's that moment when he gives her his hunting hat.
To the red one.
Yeah, the one that's become such a symbol of him.
It's like he's giving her a part of himself.
But he's also about to disappear.
Again.
So it's bittersweet.
Very much so.
And then Phoebe gives him her Christmas money.
$8.85.
She insists he takes it.
And he just breaks down.
It's like this rare moment of vulnerability.
He lets his guard down completely.
And then he goes to Mr. Antolini,
His old English teacher.
who seems to genuinely care about him.
He does, but he's also worried.
He can tell Holden's not doing well.
He gives him that warning about the terrible fall
About finding something to believe in.
to live for.
But then there's that weird scene where
Yeah.
Holden wakes up.
And Mr. Antolini is patting his head.
Holden freaks out.
Thinks he's making a pass at him.
runs away.
It's a really ambiguous scene.
People have been interpreting it in different ways for decades.
Does it confirm Holden's worst fears about the adult world?
Or is it just a misunderstanding?
We don't know for sure.
But it pushes him further down this path of isolation,
He's spiraling.
and he ends up at the Museum of Natural History.
His safe space.
He's looking for comfort.
For something familiar.
But even there, he can't escape the darkness.
The "fuck you" written on the wall.
It shatters the illusion.
Reality intrudes on his sanctuary.
And that's when he decides to run away,
To go west.
become a deaf mute.
Completely cut himself off from the world.
And Phoebe finds him,
Suitcase in hand.
ready to go with him.
And that's how the book ends.
We don't know what happens next.
Salinger leaves us hanging.
But that's the power of The Catcher in the Rye, isn't it?
It stays with you.
It makes you think about your own life,
Your own struggle.
your own search for authenticity.
We've all been there.
Maybe we're all still there.
In a way.
Well, that's our deep dive into the mind of Holden Caulfield.
What a journey.
Until next time, thanks for listening.